Aloha and welcome to Java. Thank you all for joining me on this first day of the year 2024. It is Monday, January 1st. Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you had a wonderful weekend in celebration. So I've got an awful lot to cover today. There's so much that has come out, and we'll start, of course, with the calendar that's coming up. We've still got thin trading, still have some traders out. I expect volume to pick up towards the end of this week, and we'll go through what's going on. We're expecting pretty much normal reports this week, nothing earth shattering or large. So we'll go right into kind of a more macro and what's going on in the world. So for politics, we are expecting this year is an election year for both the United States and India. We also had Denmark's Queen Margaret II has announced that she's going to abdicate her throne on January 14th. So her son is going to take the throne. She's getting quite elderly. There's a couple of other theories regarding this. However, she will no longer be in charge there. So some things we're going to be watching forward for our economy is 10-year yield. It is expected to remain now below that 4%. So this is positive for the stock market, although it probably won't be at the pace of bull market that it's been in the past few weeks. It's still bullish for the market in general. And we are still watching inflation. So that's part of it. With inflation, it seems that prices are rising, and that includes stocks in the stock market. But what's really going on is that the dollar is losing value. So people are spending less money because they're feeling this squeeze of just basically the finances are not going as far as they wanted to. So company wise, the underlying part, the story from FedEx to airlines, particularly discretionary income first, companies are starting to lose their pricing power. That means they're going to have to start dropping their prices in order to bring people back into purchasing whatever it is that they're selling, whether it's their services or goods. So we are watching deep inflation. It's not stopping, but it's not going the same pace that it was. Sales of homes, the pending were unchanged, even though mortgage rates dropped. So there were quite a few refinance applications which really eclipsed the purchasing. And what that really tells the true story is what's going on is people are trying to pull all value they can out of their homes prior to prices dropping, because a lot of people are seeing what's going on now with the housing market. Everyone talking about the crash. So even though mortgage rates are still a bit elevated, they're trying to get every bit of value they can out of it, meaning they're probably intending on walking away from these loans at some point in time in the future. So also for this week, we've got the Bitcoin ETF approval window. So this is due by January 10th. But I wanted to bring this up, and I spoke about this last week, but particularly if you're new here, the players in this space, if you look at them, is BlackRock, Fidelity, Wisdom Tree, JP Morgan. These have all slammed cryptocurrency at one point in time, and Bitcoin saying they would not have anything in with this. And now they're trying to get ETFs. So the paper is, these are basically derivatives, and one more way that they're going to attempt to manipulate Bitcoin. However, I think in the long run, they're going to find that Bitcoin is a different asset in a few respects. However, right now, I do think this will likely be, probability says this will be a sell the news event. So when some of these are approved, a lot of the hype will drop. The price will probably more likely go down. I'm long-term bull, think it will recover. However, there may be that initial drop. So in US dollar terms, we're going to talk about what's really going on. Share of dollar in global reserves is nosediving. So countries around the world used to have to be forced to transact in the dollar because it's a reserve currency. However, as more and more are beginning direct trade in their native currencies, they're seeing less use for the US dollar, and so less are holding it in their banking reserves. At this moment, there's still quite a bit of holdings, so it's going to be a gradual decline, but we are seeing that happen. So with this same thing across the board, it appears that prices are going up, but really it's just the purchasing dollar price of the dollar is dropping and fiat currencies in general. So gold is hitting a new high this year. It's still the same amount of gold, so it still has the same value it would have before. However, gold is a good show of the actual value of a fiat currency at the time and showing it's dropping in that value. So, a couple of stories that support this. Dollar losing its share in oil transactions. Same thing, price of oil. You can either say oil is going up or the dollar is dropping. But basically, even JP Morgan saying 1/5 global supplies sold and purchased using other currencies. So, this is what we were talking about earlier. This is the petrodollar has died. It used to be there could be no transactions of oil without using the US dollar. So now, fifth of global supplies. We've got Russia is warning the West over retaliation of their asset grab. So, what has happened? The United States is trying to push the G7 to basically pull Russian assets that were deposited in foreign banks, $300 billion. They froze the funds with the Ukrainian war, and they're trying to allocate this money to Ukraine in order to fight the Russians. So Russia's not very fond of that, but we'll go a little bit more into this, what's going on in the back end. So Russian factory activity, their manufacturing is at its highest level in 7 years. So what we're finding here is Russia actually has a GDP. They have a true gross domestic product, which is really what you need to back up your currency and your country functioning for your economy. The underlying United States economy, in contrast, as we know, is really in a major decline. So, aside from this, we've got Iran and Russia. They're agreeing to trade in their national currencies, so no more US dollar for these two. We've also got Egypt and Russia trading directly. And this is talking about they've just opened up not just trading in their native currencies, but now a free trade deal. And more of the Middle East is trading directly with Russia as well as China. So this is not very good for the US dollar. And they're also beginning to open deals with the EU. So moving on to war, which is kind of a result and a cover up that they use to distract on what's going on with this. The United States did have to sink some Houthi boats. What happened was they had attacked a Maersk container ship. And so Maersk has now halted their operations again. So they had called in, there were a couple of boats that were attempting to board them. The US sank the boats, and basically this results in piracy, is what it boils down to. And they did stop them. But Maersk, again, this is going to pass on in cost for the supply issues that it's going to basically create here. So I'll have supply chain issues as well as increased costs because now they're going to have to again take the longer shipping route. So we've got Bloomberg Economics. They're basically talking about this is with between China, President Xi Jinping. So speaking with the President of the United States, he's saying that mutual respect and peaceful coexistence is the right way for China and the US to get along. So, but there's a lot more going on with China, as we'll see. They are also to become the world's largest automobile exporter. They're delivering to Russia and Mexico, and they've also got larger trade opening up. So we are also seeing the economy in China is beginning to eclipse the United States. It used to be the largest automobile manufacturer, producer, and exporter. So the economic tide is beginning to shift. So Xi Jinping also, in the face of this, gave a New Year's address, and he says boldly that they are going to reunite with Taiwan, that it is inevitable and quote unquote by any means. So Taiwan has elections also, and the president of China is just basically saying it doesn't matter. They are going to reunite with them, which means take them over. We've got Putin on the other side talking about Ukraine is not their enemy because they are also going to be taking them over, but rather those who are using Ukrainians to destroy Russia are our enemies. Basically talking about the West. So this is not good all the way around. Um, as I said, their factory activity is doing very well. And if you look at it in Ukraine, what's going on right now, they're making it difficult for Ukrainian men to leave the country. Basically, they're forcing them drafting into recruitment, and they have increased their age because they're short on fighting men. So I believe their current age is in mid to late 40s that they are conscripting into their army, which is very sad. We've also got Iran is, of course, not happy with the United States, saying they're talking about fresh talks about their nuclear program, and they are expecting to advance their nuclear program and in enrichment this year. So, along with Iran on that side and China, their little backings, we've got Kim Jong Un told his military leaders from the American side, this was what they put out in the news to mobilize most powerful means to destroy enemies. But getting this from another side, what he really said was that he told his army to, by any means possible, annihilate South Korea and the United States if provoked, including nuclear use. And for our final story, this one we talked about before because this is all about energy, all about the resources. But Venezuela and Guyana having this issue where they were taking over their area, and basically this coincides with them finding large deposits of oil in the region. So we know that this is all about resource war. We talked about this before, but just this is going to increase the issues that are going on here. And the United States has deployed troops to the area in the under the guise of overseeing it. However, we know what the truth is. It's all a part of the military-industrial complex. They have to secure their supply of oil. So with that, I wish you all a wonderful day. We'll see you in the morning, and until I see you again, my friends, stay free.